Yeah. Yo, it's the Wake and Make podcast, not that Wake and Bake nonsense. We ain't puffing clouds, we building empire, straight hustle, no bluffing, Kanak. On the mic, Perkins, roofing, kingpin, construction, franchising, consulting, that's the full win. From shingling roofs to stacking freedom, no cap. We dropping gems so you can level up your own map. Aspiring bosses in the trades, listen close, this for you. Leadership lessons, cash flow moves, macro trends coming through. Real estate waves crashing, construction grind never sleeps. We break it down raw, micro wins, big leaps, no fluff, no filter, just truth with a side of edge. Cause dreaming small gets you broke, dream big instead. So grab your hammer, your laptop, your vision board too. Wake up, make moves, wake and make, we coming for you. Wake up, make moves, wake and make, we
Welcome
coming for
to
you.
the Wake and Make podcast. This is your host, Tim Kanak, and you're either watching or listening. If you're watching, you can see my guest is Mike Anusbigian with Anusbigian Sales. He represents CertainTeed and Ludowici. And what other brands do you have?
Those two brands.
Just those two brands. All right. Oh, they're two great brands. So, Mike, happy to have you here.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So Mike is the master when it comes to tile. Like I remember Mike one time, I don't know, imagine like 10 years ago, I took a Ludowici class with you, and I learned so much in that class that the stuff that you taught me during that class is stuff that I still use and like pull from today when I'm educating clients about the benefits of clay tile. So you're like, when it comes to the clay tiles, you are a master as far as I'm concerned.
I appreciate it. I'm glad what we talked about 10 years ago has been valuable.
Yeah, very, very. So what I wanted to start with, Mike, is just kind of like, because it's always interesting. Everyone always has like weird or goofy stories of how they got into roofing. Cause it's like, you don't grow up as a kid like, oh, I want to be a roofer. So like, how did you get into this crazy industry?
Here's how. I was in the landscaping business for 18 years. My degree is in landscape horticulture, urban forestry. So after 18 years in that business, the company I worked for had a commercial and residential division. They sold the residential division. The purchasers wanted the residential homeowner base. It was over 2 or 3 million customers. The commercial landscaping division had a long sales cycle, equipment intensive, and they didn't want anything to do with that. So if my memory's right, there were about 600 people in that group. There was a consideration of like an employee buyout, didn't work, so I was out of a job. And after 18 years, I'm like, okay, what else can I sell besides landscaping and design? I thought, well, I already call on GCs and architects, property owners. Maybe I can talk to these guys about building products. So that's how that started. And then I went to the University of Michigan Library in Ann Arbor and found a book. This is 35, 36 years ago. The top 100 companies in America to sell for. And CertainTeed at the time was in the 40s. So I looked up at the time in the phone book, CertainTeed, oh, here's a factory in Ohio. Called them and started bugging them, and that's how it all started.
So did you start and go down 1 through 100 and just like call, and then CertainTeed was the one that actually like responded to you? Is that
no? I looked at the ones that I thought piqued my interest.
Yeah.
And since they sold building products, and the guys and gals I was calling on were kind of the same group that you would call on at CertainTeed, or so I thought. I didn't know about roofing contractors.
Yeah.
So that's what prompted me to call them first.
That's funny. So they actually responded to you. Was there anyone else that you called? Did you call any of the other roofing?
I didn't call any other roofing companies. I was calling other building products companies in that book. And CertainTeed was the one that responded first. And I hounded them. And, you know, I thought, well, trees can die. Shingles can't die. So I thought that's a plus as far as people being upset with products, right? I never liked when trees died and you have to deal with unhappy customers. So that was my naive, thought process when I started.
Yeah, interesting. So, how did you start there? Like, how did that go? Did they train you? Did they bring you in to work for them? Did they say you're going to be outside sales straight from the beginning?
Yeah, the job was first outside, territory manager, outside sales rep in Detroit, Toledo, – Southwest Ontario, because I was in Detroit. And Once I explained, hey, I'm already selling, I just have to learn roofing products.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. My training was very limited. One day I spent with the rep in Columbus, Ohio. He showed me how to do paperwork a little bit. And I spent a day with the rep in Cleveland to show me what a roofing distributor is. And then I went back to Detroit and started making sales calls. So I didn't know anything. So I learned by asking a lot of questions.
Did they make you climb a roof? Was that like part of
I was
the?
on roofs. Back then, sales reps wore ties, sport coats, dress shoes. My first few roofs, I had black leather dress shoes climbing the roof. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's like one of the first things I do when someone's like, "Hey Tim, I want to work for you," or I think I want to learn roofing. I'm like, okay, first day, let's get you on a roof and see how you feel. It's like some people, like one of my friends, he's like a dog trainer, and he's like, "Hey Tim, I think I want to work for you and see how that goes." First day, he was like this, hugging the chimney on the roof. He went up there, he's like, "Help me off."
Yeah.
Like
It can get scary. I guess I was used to that a little bit from tree climbing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So did you sell safety products too for tree climbing and stuff before you got into?
No, I didn't.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that was just like my experience on job sites until I got into sales.
Yeah. Okay. So you got to CertainTeed, and then you've been selling CertainTeed products since then. How did you get with Ludowici?
When I joined CertainTeed, at that time, Ludowici was owned by CertainTeed. They were a subsidiary. So fortunately, Ludowici has a very broad product line, and they allowed I don't know if it was the whole country or a particular region, but I was in an area where we got to sell like the budget price Ludowici product. And I fell in love with that. It was basically for commercial type buildings. And I sold half a dozen or so, 5 or 6 jobs with that. And so that's kind of my experience with tying the CertainTeed and Ludowici together. No connection between the two companies anymore. CertainTeed sold Ludowici around December 03 or January 04.
Huh.
But historically, there's a connection.
Huh. Okay, so you have a family business. How did you was Greg and did you have a family business before when you were selling landscaping products, or so they all came in after once you had converted to roofing then?
Yeah, my brother
Yeah.
had his own business. He had a title insurance company with like 35 employees and a partner, and mortgage. He was a mortgage broker in Detroit. So that's what he did for, before that, he worked for Rock Financial, Dan Gilbert in Detroit, way back. And so he was doing his thing and I was doing mine. And how we ended up connecting, long story short, I ended up with CertainTeed, left them on very good terms to start a home building business, new houses in old neighborhoods in Detroit. Did that for 3 years with my wife. We lost everything. Detroit imploded with that 3 years before the rest of the country back in the 08 crash. So in 05, Detroit was tanked. So long story short, I called CertainTeed, and they didn't have any openings geographically where I wanted. And they said, you can move to Kansas City. And I'm like, well, if I move south, I want to move way south. I was tired of winter. So JF called me and said, we hear you don't have a job, you don't have any money. You want to work for us? So at the time, my arch enemy. So I had a wife, kids, needed a job. So I worked for JF. And then after a couple of years, got transferred to South Florida. And that's how I came here. And my brother started a Detroit South operation for his company. And we ended up, he did that, like I said, for 25 years. The long story, they had an internal accountant, account for their company, doing forging documents, and still ended up stealing millions. So at some point, then he was looking for a job. And I ended up, when I started with CertainTeed, I said, hey, I won't be able to do this on my own. You're interested? And so he took a week off and he just rode with me, making cold calls for a week. And I said, are you in? He said, yep. So that's how we started.
That's awesome. That's it. That's the best way. Just like ride with me, see if you like it. And then if you like it, then cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good story though. So, I mean, like, that's really riding the wave too. It's like out of necessity,
Yes,
you know, comes some of the best things sometimes. You know what I
agree,
mean? It's
totally.
like sometimes you have to suffer and really go through the ringer before you finally actually get to the best thing that your best potential outcome.
I agree,
So,
totally.
yeah. Yeah, that's cool though. So working with your brother, like
Pardon me?
working with your brother, do you guys ever like fight or anything?
No,
Like,
we get along great.
yeah,
We both joked about when we were kids. I'm the oldest, he's the youngest. There was 2 between us.
yeah,
We used to joke about, hey, maybe someday we'll have a business together. You know, I'm 8.5 years older, so it's a big age gap then. But now we laugh about that. Hey, you know, all these many decades later, we're doing it. So we get along great. And, you know, just like with your business, you kind of end up having division of labor
mm-hmm.
because you can be much more productive that way. And that's how it started. And my wife, Marianne, she's a partner with Greg and I. She thought this would be, and we all thought it'd be like a half-time job for her once our kids were in college or older. And it became, as you know, stuff like that became way, way, way more than full-time. So then we hired Alexandra and recently hired Cheyenne, and our nephew, my nephew, Greg's oldest child, Will joined us 8 or 9 months ago. So that's kind of how it's grown. 6 people on the team now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how does like going from working for a company and then now having your own company and expanding and hiring, and how does everyone's role come about? Do you kind of like let people form into what they're, especially since you're a family business and it's not like, hey, I'm hiring and you're just hiring someone from the outside who's going to be the perfect fit for the role. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you let your roles develop on your team? Is it kind of like natural fit of like who can do the best thing for what? Or is it more like we need someone to do this, and then if anyone wants to do it, come do it, but this is going to be your role? Like how do
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So for Greg and I, we were both in sales for our whole career. So that's what we did, right? Going out, knocking on doors. Marianne, her background, before we had kids, she was an actuary. So she was used to detailed work in an office, and perfect fit for her. So kind of, you know, like you said, kind of what our background and our fit is, what we like.
Yeah.
And took it from there. And then, of course, just like, you know, having businesses, there's things you have to do that maybe you're not the best at. And then at some point, maybe you can bring somebody on who's better than you at that.
Yeah. So that's kind of how the other roles developed. Is it's like, okay, who can do this the best, and then do you want to do it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. So that's cool. Okay, talking about roofing, let's get to tiles first. We're gonna hit tiles and we're gonna hit shingles, but let's start with tiles because I feel like there are way more misconceptions with tiles than there are with shingle. Mm-hmm. Nationwide, tons of misconceptions. Like people just don't understand tile. Like I noticed selling a ton of tile to homeowners that people from other states just don't get it. Like they think tile is tile, and they don't really understand the difference between clay and concrete. They don't understand the difference between like attachment methods. So like in other states on the tile here, if you're watching, you see we have our holes here. A lot of places they'll fasten the tiles down. So like they'll screw them down or whatever, but they don't have the issues that we have when it comes to wind uplift pressures, because screws in the wind tunnel only get to like 120 mile per hour wind pressures, and the foam will get to 160. And since we're foaming tiles down, you have the back of the tile here, unless you're on like a 6 or 7 on 12, whatever, then you might want to do a hybrid system. We're going to recommend doing a 2-component foam on the back of the tiles here and adhering that way. And it's just like people don't understand. They just think a tile roof is a tile roof is a tile roof. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the different attachment methods, the benefits of the different attachment methods, and they don't understand why clay tile might be better than concrete, because in their mind, they think, isn't concrete stronger than clay? And that's how they think about it. They're like, isn't concrete stronger? So as a clay sales tile rep, because I talk about it a lot, and people who watch my YouTube videos know some of these benefits, I want you to explain just kind of like from a 50,000 foot view here to your average consumer, like what if you're giving like the main 5 reasons to upgrade to a clay tile versus a concrete tile, because it's always going to cost more money. Like, why should someone spend the extra money? What makes the clay tile worth the extra money versus the concrete tile?
Okay. There's a lot of variables in my response to your question. First, clay tile kind of generically holds color better than concrete tile. Concrete tile has a lot of pros to it. Being from Detroit, I relate things to kind of car analogy, right? You can go to a Ford dealer and buy, I don't know the name of it, whatever their budget price car is for, let's say $25,000. And then there's many steps up to, you can get a maxed out Lincoln Navigator at that same dealer for $150,000. So 6 times higher cost with different warranties, different expected durability, different aesthetic options, different comfort options. Comfort's not part of the tile, but all those other options relate to that. So concrete tile, price-wise, would be like the entry-level vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much most people can afford it. Not everybody. Sometimes you have to rent a car or lease a car or hop the bus. But if you can afford a tile roof, the entry level that most people can afford would be a concrete tile. A lot of pros to it. Concrete is very strong and affordable, available, right? The manufacturers are right here in Florida. Clay tile has better color retention than concrete, generally speaking. A lot of times when I do CEU classes for architects, I'm paraphrase this question I've been asked probably 50 times. Well, Mike, I know clay tile holds the color better than concrete tile, but clay tile is so brittle. So that's when you get into some of the variables. Okay, there's different grades of clay tile. Concrete tile has a different test for because it's not clay. It has its own test for moisture absorption, transverse breaking strength. Clay tile, the test is ASTM C1167. Test for transverse breaking strength, moisture absorbency, all things like that. And then where we live, anywhere in the salt air zone, moisture absorbency relates directly to salt air intrusion. We'll talk about that. So we'll delve into that more. So concrete tile is very strong. A lot of the imported tiles, let's say the handmade tiles from Nicaragua, Colombia, they're beautiful. They're gorgeous. But they're very, very porous. So they have a very high moisture absorbency, very, very low transverse breaking strength.
Yeah.
And then now kind of another variable is what profile are we looking at? Because there's many different, like Ludowici makes 43 standard profiles. Barrel, there's 2 types of barrel, 2-piece mission, Spanish, right, which is like a barrel with a flange on one side, flat interlocking like this, flat shingle that's just smooth on the bottom. So everybody knows Roman arch is very strong, lasts thousands of years. So barrel tiles, just by the nature of their design, no matter what we're talking about, concrete, clay, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 clay, very strong compared to the other profiles, right? So for example, our mission tile has a transverse breaking strength. Our most common Palm Beach mission or straight barrel 18-inch, 1,050, 1,100 pounds transverse breaking strength, very strong. Something like this probably has a transverse breaking strength of 500, 550 pounds, half. Spanish has the advantage of being a barrel like a mission, plus the flange on the side takes pressure off the barrel so you can make it stronger, almost 1,500 pounds transverse breaking strength for the Spanish.
I think that's an important point right there and I tell people this, and I never thought about it the way that you just said it, the Roman arch. Because people ask me all the time when they're talking about concrete tile, they say, "Hey, Tim, what concrete tiles are better, the flat ones because they're more in style right now, or the curvy ones. They don't know. They don't even know the difference between S and double roll or whatever. But they'll be like, which ones are better, the flat or the curvy? And then I'll tell them that generally, from what I see, even in the concrete tiles, the S tiles perform better than the flat tiles as far as durability. Good way to think about it because of the curviness. The flat ones break all the times on the, like, especially on the corners. The corners will just chip off, and that may be from pressure cleaning, people walking on them, and it may be just from natural breakage, because they are those concrete tiles are absorbing so much moisture. And the shape on the flat tile, when it's a concrete tile, they just, for whatever reason, the flat concrete tiles will just break right on the corners, and they'll just chip away a little bit at a time. Like this will fall off year 1. And then year 2, it'll be like a bigger piece. And then year 3, it'll be a bigger piece. And they just chip out from like the edge in on the flat tiles. You don't really see that as much on the S. I feel like most of the times on the concrete S tiles, when they're breaking, it'll be from like impact more than like natural breakage from water intrusion.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's an interesting point about the Roman arch and actually the curvy one being stronger, because in your mind, you might think, oh, this is closer to the ground. It's flat against the deck. It's less likely that this is going to break from impact or from walking on it than something that is propped up and, you know, has an arch to it.
Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So
continuing, right?
Yeah.
Concrete and clay, pros and cons of both. So clay is going to generally have more color retention. Then there's different grades of clay. So there's 3 grades. The lower the grade, the higher the moisture absorbency. Grade 3 tiles have more than 11% moisture absorbency. Grade 2 are between more than 6, less than 11. Grade 1, the best graded clay tiles, below 6. Ludowici, if you take all our 43 profiles and average it, it's about 0.91%. So less than 1%. So Ludowici's moisture absorbency is actually over 600% better than the criteria to be listed and passed to be the best graded clay tile.
That's funny. Grade 1A. It's not even, it deserves a grade of itself, I suppose, at that point. So then you look at grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, right? Yeah.
As far as if you want clay for better color retention and more shapes, because clay can be made into any shape. So there's more unique profiles available with clay than with concrete. So that would be, I guess, another pro for clay, right?
Yeah, concrete, you basically have your flat tile, and you can do them in 9 inches or 11 inches or 13 inches. And then you've got your which nobody does the 9-inch anymore. It's always just 13. And then you've got your, you get broom sweep it, whatever. And then you've got your S tile, and you've got your double roll. That's it. So you've basically 3 profiles of concrete. That's about it. Yeah.
So now we're going back to the clay. So now cost factors in too, right? Like concrete is more affordable. Grade 3 clay is more affordable than grade 2 and grade 1.
This podcast is brought to you by Perkins Roofing. That's right. Established in 1980, Perkins Roofing has been roofing South Florida from the Florida Keys up to Port St. Lucie on the East Coast since 1980. We also travel through the whole state. We do the West Coast as well. So if you need a roof in Florida, call Perkins Roofing. For Miami-Dade, Broward, and the Keys, 305 MIA Roof. For the rest of Florida, call 561-559-ROOF. This podcast is also brought to you by Perkins Construction. Perkins Construction is our GC brand. We do all work from the GC, from everything. We do concrete restoration, from high-rise concrete restoration to simple repairs around your house, drywall repairs, whatever. So window installs, impact windows, impact doors, concrete restoration, painting, kitchens, bathrooms. We do Perkins Construction. And we also have Perkins Franchising. Perkins Franchising. If you want to franchise with me, then email me, franchise@perkinsroofing.net for more information. I can send you our FDD to see if this is something you're interested in. If you hear about the franchise option from this podcast, email me and I will give you $25,000 off your franchise. Franchise fee is normally $50,000. I will take $25,000 off if you say that you heard about this from the podcast and I don't have to pay any brokers or any commissions, I'll take $25,000 off. And for $25,000, you can have a Perkins Roofing franchise throughout the state of Florida. There are tons of territories open. Each territory comes with 100,000 qualified households plus commercial real estate within that territory. So if you're interested, for only 25 grand, you can have your own Perkins Roofing. Work with me. I'm going to help you make a ton of money if you do that. Cheapest, best way to make money around. A quarter or more the price of college, and you can make way more money than most college degrees are going to net you. So Perkins franchising. And if you need consulting help, Perkins Consulting, we can assist you with running your business. So if you already have your own business and you just need help, if you don't know what overhead is, need help with your overhead, don't know how to do work in progress accounting, need help with that, don't have proper pricing models and need help with models or business systems, leadership, or individual projects, then let us know at either of those numbers or that email, franchise@Perkins, or you can just email me, tim@perkinsroofing.net, and we'll hook it up. We will help you out with any consulting for any project or for building your business, for helping to build business systems. Perkins Consulting. Now let's continue with the podcast.
Grade 2 is more affordable than grade 1, and then grade 1 is the highest cost, and then Ludowici is the highest cost of grade 1 tile that I know that's sold anywhere. I can't say the world, but I can say North America or the Caribbean. So then you factor those in. Then you look at, okay, what's the warranty on the product as far as pros and cons, right? Why one or the other? Concrete tiles typically have a limited lifetime warranty on the tile itself with no color warranty. So the product warranty is good. Color, it makes you think about it. You know, how important is the color retention to you, right? Maybe it's super important, maybe it's not. So you have to factor all these in, just like going to a Ford deal. Same thing, right? Okay, what do I want? What's my budget allow? What can I afford? Or if I can't afford something, do I want to spend that much more? A lot of variables.
Yeah. Well, here's a point in the favor of clay that I always talk to clients about. In the picture that's on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube or whatever, you can see people pressure cleaning and painting the concrete tiles. Most HOAs will make you like pretty much pressure clean your roof like every year or every 2 years if you have concrete tile, because they're absorbing so much moisture that they hold a ton of dirt. They get really, really, really dirty. And that's not happening with the clay tiles because they're not absorbing all that moisture.
Right.
And now sometimes it depends on whatever, if you have a tree over your house or whatever, on how dirty it's going to get. But like all things being even, if you have the same amount of tree coverage of a concrete tile house versus a clay tile house, it's going to be retaining less moisture. Thus, it's going to have less algae growth and dirt that retains into the tile. And that means you're spending less money on the maintenance. So one of the points that I like to make to people is that a lot of the time, you're going to pay, the clay tile will end up paying for itself based on less maintenance that you have to spend on your roof and the longevity of the roof, because you have such less absorption through the tile that the paper under the tile is going to last longer. And so you're getting more longevity out of the roof. Thus, the extra money that you're putting down now on the clay tiles is only going to go toward buying back those extra years on the tile roof lasting longer and on lack of having to do as much maintenance on a clay tile roof as you would on a concrete tile.
Sure, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
I use that analogy that I explain to people. Ludowici is a high cost up front, but if you look at, if you use a good underlayment and good flashings, right? Because we can talk about that too. That's all part of the system. Ludowici ends up becoming the lowest cost roof system you can put on, cheaper than the cheapest 3-tab shingle. If you look at cost per year for life cycle of the product. Here in South Florida, there's Ludowici roofs all over the place, over 100 years, over 90, over 80, over 70, and so on. The original roof. So yeah, and we've seen Ludowici jobs that had to be replaced in 15 years because guys use galvanized flashing on the ocean front or near the ocean front, or 30-pound felt paper underneath. So, like, you know, all the components are critical as well.
Yeah. And you're not kidding. I remember I sent you a picture a couple of years ago for a roof we were doing in Coral Gables, and they were Ludowici tiles stamped from 1908.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember the email.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not joking about 80 plus years or whatever. So that's crazy. But yeah, so grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. I feel like the easiest way for people to remember, because and what's weird is I like never see grade 2, or at least I don't think I do. But a lot of the European tiles tend to be grade 1, and a lot of the tiles that are fabricated in Central or South America tend to be grade 3. And like the grade 3 tiles, as far as durability, like again, you're not joking, those things. Like on Fisher Island, they used to use the handmade barrel tiles. We had installed Alhambra on one building. We used Santa Fe handmade at one point. They don't have the factory down there anymore. And those tiles we would call Doritos. Like you'd walk on them to crunch, 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 because they weren't as strong.
Sure.
Whereas like the grade 1 tiles, like you get, like I have videos of me jumping up and down on these tiles, and it doesn't do anything to them. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Do you what else on the different grades do you think people should know if they're looking into getting a clay tile roof?
Then I would look at the warranty.
Mm-hmm.
What does, everything's in the fine print. What does the warranty include? For example, a lot of manufacturers don't have any color warranty. Ludowici's color warranty is 75 years. And it's warranted not to fade more than 200 units in that 75 years, or it's considered defective, and they'll give you new tile. 100 unit, scientists with that last name developed a way to measure distinct changes in color. So let's say you put this color on the roof today, baseline 0, a change of 100 unit scientifically is not detectable by the human eye. A change of 200 units is detectable only through close observation. So Ludowici says if it fades more than that in 75 years, it's defective. Every single person who works at the Ludowici factory today, if you combine the employees in the actual operations and in the home office, there's well over 160 people combined. And some of the people there have been there many years, over 30 years, over 40 years. No one knows of a Ludowici tile that has ever had a defect in it. Not that can't happen when tiles ship new, right? Okay, stuff comes, there's problems, it gets replaced. But what my point with that is, once it's installed and everything's hunky-dory, from that day forward, nobody at the company knows of a problem that ever come up, because basically it can't.
How consistent are the colors? So like if I order a roof, this tile on my roof, and I get this on my roof, and then in 5 years I have a few broken tiles, and for whatever reason I don't have any of the extras laying around, and I have to order this tile, and obviously it's going to be a different batch. How close is the color going to be between the roof on that I have on versus the new ones that I get sent?
The ceramic engineers at Ludowici, and there's over half a dozen ceramic engineers in the operation. They either match or come super close to that color. Coincidentally, this tile is a color that was made to match a roof in West Palm Beach at First Church of Christ Scientists that was put on in 1929, 1930, when that church was built. 90 years later, 2019, 2020, needed a new roof. The tile looked like it was a couple months old, but after 90 years, the underlayment lasted that long. And with the wind-driven rain, they were getting leaks. So unfortunately, the tile was installed with mortar, so they had to break the tile to get to the underlayment, put new underlayment. So it's the ceramic engineer who was in charge of all the colors of Ludowici. We sent her a piece of the original tile, and she sent back, she did trials, right, to match it. Her first trial, she sent back 3 samples. She said sample A is a dead match inside under electric lights. Sample B is a dead match in shade. Sample C is a dead match in full sun. The church was in full sun.
Yeah.
They picked sample C, and it was almost an exact match from 90 years before.
What underlayment was it? Was it cap sheet, like hot mop cap sheet or
Back
something?
then?
Yeah,
I don't
had to be
know
like
what,
hot
I don't know
mop
what
cap
kind
sheet,
of
right?
felt. I know when I even started doing this, some of the guys maybe who are my age back then talked about rag felt being used on roofs in the early 70s, 60s, 50s, and using hot asphalt with that, they say it's going to last, quote unquote, forever.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming maybe that's what they use. Really thick rag felt
Yeah.
with asphalt. I don't know. My assumption is that.
That's a crazy long roof. That's insane. So, talking more about colors, I feel like this is something when you're actually getting, if you're like, okay, I get it, concrete tiles aren't my thing. Like I have a little extra money. I don't want the concrete tile because they're not as good. It's only going to last 20 years. And the moisture absorption is a huge issue, and I don't want to pay pressure cleaners every year to break more tiles because that's what they do. So, so if you're like, okay, I'm trying to pick my clay tile, and I'm really narrowing down. I found some nice grade 1 tiles. One thing that really distinguishes between grade 1 tiles is going to be how is the color achieved. Like there are some companies that paint the clay tile. There are some that bake the color into the tile with like a glazing, and then there are some even that are like electrostatically coated into the tile. So how does a Ludowici, like how does their process work as far as achieving the color?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I get asked 50, 75 times a year, Mike, maybe somebody's in our showroom and they're looking at tiles and they say, Mike, look at this color is or 64th, however, it's super thin. That's going to wear off, right? It can't. Physically, it's impossible. That's why we have our color warranty like that. So how it's made, this color on the back is called clay red. So you can buy tile in a color called clay red. That's just the natural color of the clay. After it's fired, comes out of the kiln in that color. So once they make a shape, then they glaze it with, whether it's a matte color, this is a gloss glaze, and goes into a drying oven, kitchen oven temperatures, field tile typically a day. Then it goes into the main kiln. Temperatures are over 2100 degrees, 2200 plus sometimes. And the whole process from entering the kiln to coming out of the kiln is 24 hours. So what happens is it's so hot for so long, the molecules and the minerals in the glaze fuse together with the molecules in the clay body particles. So when the tile comes out of the kiln, the color is the tile is the color. That's why Ludowici has the best color warranty of any building product that I know of in the world. They didn't even have a color warranty for almost 100 years. They didn't have to because that's how long it lasts. But as other products that had, let's say, a lot lower life cycle, inferior as far as durability and performance, had warranties, Ludowici had to have a warranty, right? So in 1982, they came out with a 50-year warranty, including color. And there, like there are some manufacturers been around 2 or 3 years and they have a 50-year warranty. So to compete, Ludowici said, okay, in 1992, we'll make our warranty 75 years, including color. Our previous CEO, who retired maybe 4 years ago or so, he used to say, not necessarily tongue in cheek, maybe we should make our warranty 100 years because we can.
Yeah.
So, so that's colors made.
Yeah.
Can't fade. And then as far as our gloss colors, like the church in West Palm, 9 years later, the tile looked like it was 2 months old.
Yeah.
How they make our glaze, the gloss, the shiny tile, the shiny color, it's made at the same time versus a lot of other gloss tiles have a 2-fire processing system. They'll color the tile, fire it, cool it, then spray enamel on it, fire it again. So then you have your shiny color. That is almost guaranteed to have crazing happen. I'll explain that. Ludowici, it's a 1-step process. So the shine is from glass. They take glass fritz, which is like layman's terms powdered glass, that's mixed together with the mineral fritz that make the color. It's all mixed together, sprayed on. So when it goes through the kiln, everything melts together. The glass that makes the shine with the minerals that make the color. And that's what comes out of the kiln.
Interesting. I have another question on this for you. So I just put on clay tile roof that's not Ludowici, and the customer was like, "What's up with the color?" Because it had a lot of like rubbing on it from when they deliver the tiles in the pallets and when they're loaded. And I'm like, this is pretty natural. It happens on almost every roof, right? And in my mind, I was thinking that the last Ludowici roof we did, I don't remember any chalking or scratch. Like when we put those tiles on out of the pallet, they didn't have what you have on most other roofs where you have rubbing effect. And it's like, okay, it's going to wash off. You have to wait for it to wash off over time. Sure. Like we have photos of that roof and it was like, it looked like nothing. Like it looked like the tiles were loaded individually and they were not like stacked and rubbed against each other. Is that something with the way that the glazing is applied where it doesn't, where like the tiles rubbing against each other is not going to, I mean, maybe it was just a one-off and I didn't notice because it was a darker color tile. Yeah. But like on most tiles, when they're first installed, there's like rubbing from the loading. Sure. So
Ludowici has that happen too sometimes. It depends on the profile. So the smooth profiles, not generally, but some of our shake profiles in particular, or slate, the surface isn't smooth. And let's say with a shake profile, if you looked at it from this vantage point, the little grooves and the scoring from the shake texture are different heights, right? If you look close, this way it looks like it's the same height. So when those things are put together, sometimes they'll have that slight friction abrasion because maybe this side of the tile, the groove is taller and the one below it is thinner, so it's going to rub a little bit. And like you said, that always rubs, shouldn't say rubs off, comes off with rain and weather. Yeah. I guess that can happen more commonly with surfaces like that. But with smooth surfaces, a lot of times we don't see any of them.
Yeah, because our last one was a smooth one. I didn't know. I was like, oh man, it looks like polished stone or something. And it, like weighing that against some of the other tiles I see, I just thought that was something interesting. So the Ludowicis, I already mentioned, like I have a YouTube video called like clay versus concrete tile, and I'm like testing them and I'm jumping up and down on them and stuff like that, and I'm breaking them. And like there were tiles that were even like some of the clay tiles would just get smashed. But the Ludowici ones, I was like jumping on hard. Like I've tried to break them. I've even taken to a customer a series of tiles and brought a baseball bat and like hit the tiles with a baseball bat. And like I hit the Ludowici tile like pretty hard, and it didn't even break. And like I was like, and like I had to really mash it to actually break it. I had to like hit a home run on it. And like I like how does the Ludowici achieve such strength in their tiles versus like and like what is everyone else doing wrong with it? They can't make them as strong as Ludowici. I guess like,
that's a great question. Yeah. So I'll answer it, but I want to give it an example to put it in a frame of reference.
Yeah.
We talked about flat interlocking has the lowest transverse breaking strength, no matter what brand, right? And then a Mission, and then a Spanish. It's kind of like a Mission with one flange. So I won't name the competitor. It came down, they looked at all these clay tiles, it came down to that brand and Ludowici. And they're looking at, it came down to two-piece Mission tile. So Ludowici, all our test results are third-party testing. Ludowici tests on their own, of course, but all our published results are, don't believe Ludowici, read the test results from XYZ engineering company, right? A third party. So Ludowici's transverse breaking strength is published. I gave that to the customer. And there's property manager, board, the HOA board, roofing consultant, and me and the other rep. And the other rep didn't have that information to publish it. So they asked him, what is your typical transverse breaking strength on your Mission tile? He said about 400 pounds versus our 1150, 1100. And our flat interlocking, our weakest transverse breaking strength due to the nature of the design, that's a higher transverse breaking strength than this other well-known brand's Mission tile. So that kind of sets the stage. How do they make it so strong? One, the raw material, clay in Southeast Ohio. That factory is located there due to the quality and characteristics of the clay that's needed to make the best wood tile in the world, and there's lots of it. So, like you know, the history of Ludowici goes back to 1600. That factory's been operating continuously since 1888, so 100 and however many years, 137? Gonna do 138 years now, right? And the raw material, step one. The refining process is step two. When the clay is mined, and Ludowici owns the clay within about a 10-mile radius of the factory. So after 138 years of use, they figure they have about 200 more years with operating nonstop like they have. When they bring it in to dry before it can be crushed and refined, once it gets to the point and it's flipped around and kind of like giant rooms with open ends where big equipment can come in and out. Gets dry enough to be ground to start the process to be made into a shape. 4-ton grinding wheel grinds it, it gets screened again, grounds it again. So the raw material is so fine, if you picked up a scoop of the clay ready to be mixed with water to be made into a shape and tapped it, my glass would be covered with clay dust. It's not quite as fine as baby powder or shaving talc.
Yeah.
Almost. Some of it is, but
Close, yeah.
almost. So the particles are so small, they can be very close together, right? No pore space.
Yeah.
So then, let's say you're looking at a Spanish tile. It's made like on a layperson's terms, a gigantic Play-Doh machine. It's extruded. The compression in that extruder, I brought this CertainTeed hat for you. If you were wearing that, or I was, and we open the top to that extruder where the Spanish is being pressed and squeezed, it would pull that hat off our head. So if we were at the end of the extruder that makes Spanish tile, and just caught a piece of wet moldy clay.
Yeah.
The moisture absorption of that wet moldy clay is 15%. So finished concrete tile loaded on a roof can range between 10 and 18. That's their test. So Ludowici's wet clay to start with is so dense before it even gets fired that's how it gets so dense and has such a high transverse breaking strength. Anecdotally, when CertainTeed sold Ludowici, we're owned by a conglomerate, Wienerberger, largest brick manufacturer in Europe. They own multiple clay tile and concrete tile roof manufacturers. The only one they own in the Western Hemisphere is Ludowici. And then they own another company that Ludowici is under, that is the largest brick manufacturer in North America. So I'll call our sister companies in Europe. One of them is Freeze-thaw in Germany. One of their chief operations people was on vacation in the USA 2 years ago. He came to our showroom when he was on vacation touring Florida, and we got talking about clay. He said, Mike, I've seen clay used for clay tile from all continents: Europe, Asia, South America, North America. He said, Ludowici has the best raw material of any clay tile made. So that's just reinforcing step one.
So in regards to that then, because don't they have a plant in Italy too? What's the difference between the Italian clay versus the Ohio clay?
I don't know the difference, technically speaking.
Yeah.
Just generically, what you told me, it's the best raw material he's ever seen for clay tile, including what they use in their plants in Germany, Hungary, and Poland.
Interesting. So I wonder though, would it be worth it for someone to pay for the Ludowicis from Italy? Like, would it make sense for someone to say, no, I don't want the American, or I guess maybe you could go both ways, right? But what if there's someone that says, I don't want the American one, I want the Italian one, because Italian has like that, you know?
Oh, okay, understood.
Like,
okay.
Would someone be able to buy Ludowici tiles from Italy, even though they're in the U.S.?
Yeah, no, Ludowici is only made in the USA. But our sister companies, San Marcos is in Italy.
Okay.
Terriels in France.
So when you're buying the Ludowici tiles, that clay is all from Southeast Ohio.
Correct.
None of that comes from Italy.
100%.
Okay, understood.
Only from Southeast Ohio, made in South, made in the USA since 1888.
Oh, okay. Well, gotta get an American flag stamp on there, maybe, right? On the back. So, here's a question for you: for coastal homes that are battling, or commercial buildings that are battling salt air, hurricanes, higher winds, whatever, what could happen to a grade 2 or grade 3 tile that wouldn't happen to a grade 1 tile?
Great question. The same thing can happen to those that can happen to concrete. I'll give you an anecdote locally here in Southeast Florida. We had a project, Gulfstream Casino, south of here, right?
Yep.
The casino building is like 1.0 miles from the ocean front. So it's in the salt air zone. So it was installed with concrete tile. And after 12, 13 years, they decided they needed a new roof because, going back to what you said earlier in the discussion, was getting algae all the time. Every time they were power washing it, I was told they were breaking 200 to 300 times.
Yeah.
And after doing that so long, they got sick of it. So they said, we need a new roof. They looked at every tile brand you can buy in Southeast Florida, which is pretty much any made in Europe, South America, Ludowici, Asia, Japan, China. They settled on Ludowici. Why? Because of the transverse breaking strength, secondarily, primarily because of the moisture absorption. So they knew that in the salt air zone, we talked earlier about moisture absorption relates directly to salt air intrusion with an average of 0.91. And the tile they selected had about 0.6% moisture absorption. They knew that they wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah.
So when Ludowici is going to get algae, right, the black stains, less frequently than the higher moisture absorption products. But now when they power wash it, and I talk to them, don't power wash it, soft wash it, we talk about that. But when they walk it to soft wash it, they're not breaking tiles. I can't say because I haven't heard. I can't say they're breaking zero. They may be, they may not be.
Yeah, it depends on the guy.
Exactly. It's nothing like 200 to 300 tiles every time they wash it.
Yeah.
So that's why they selected Ludowici. Salt air intrusion, almost negligible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so what would you say to a customer who doesn't have necessarily the money to pay for Ludowici right now? Maybe they don't have, the affordability, whatever. And what would you recommend if they can't afford it and they wanted a non-Ludowici clay tile? Like where would you
different brands?
Yeah, where would you point them if Ludowici is not necessarily in their budget? I guess as far as like what kind of product they should be looking for. That
Sure.
Yeah.
Step one, I would recommend two of our sister companies.
Mm-hmm.
They make a lot of tiles, but in USA, Terriel from France. We sell one of their mission tile profiles called Languedocian. We sell that here in the USA. In Florida, it has Florida HVAC and non-HVAC approval and Miami-Dade. And then Creaton, which is the gentleman that I mentioned that stopped and talked to us about raw materials. Creaton, headquartered in Germany. One of their tiles that's made in Germany we sell here. Creaton Visio, it's a matte white flat interlocking, kind of like this, but a lot bigger tile.
Yeah.
And that's stocked in Pompano Beach. So I would start with those. And if those weren't what they're looking for, then I would recommend, hey, look at Brea. Brea is a very good tile. I mean, I probably recommended Brea a couple dozen times to people where, once they looked at their budget and what they could spend, they asked me the same question you said. Brea is a good tile, made in Spain. Performance-wise, can't compete with Ludowici, but it's a very good tile. People ask me to put it in kind of car terms, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You have Chevrolet and Honda or whatever, right, at entry. Then maybe you have a Mercedes or Cadillac. That would be in the Mercedes or Cadillac level in car terms. Then there's a lot of steps, and you get to a Rolls Royce, and you're at Ludowici. So yeah. We don't denigrate competition because, just like with cars, concrete tile, great product. Like you and I know, from Stewart to Homestead, what, 95% of the tile you see is concrete? Probably. And, you know, then that 5% or less is clay, and then a certain percentage of that's Ludowici. So, yeah, I recommend Grade because it's a really good tile.
What is the single biggest mistake you see homeowners make when they're shopping for tiles?
One, they don't, because homeowners, even if they don't, let's say, don't really know anything about cars, they kind of know that because they buy and rent and lease cars, that a Mercedes is better than a Honda or Ford, and a Rolls is better than a Mercedes. They just know that, even if they don't know anything about cars.
Yeah.
How often do they get a roof? Once or twice in their life, maybe 3 times if it's a lot. So they don't know even what questions to ask, right? So they think the tile is the system. That's what I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that underlayment's critical, flashing's critical, workmanship's the most critical, right? So all those kinds of questions that a roofing contractor needs to make sure that if the homeowner doesn't ask it, to bring that subject up, to educate them so that they do understand.
Yeah, I agree. People make large financial decision without doing very much research too often. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know, I'll use a car analogy again. If you bought that Rolls Royce with, I don't know, a very small $24,000 new car motor engine, that's a bad mistake because it's not going to perform, right?
Yeah.
If everything else is beautiful, high quality, but the engine is too light and too small to move that vehicle properly.
Yeah. That's good. I've seen people do that with boats. They'll have like a huge boat and they'll put like a 1,000 on there or something. I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move to shingles. When someone says architectural shingle, because people say, I want a dimensional shingle, I want an architectural shingle. Most people know that that's better than the 3-tab. I'm seeing less 3-tabs going on, which is good because 3-tabs are barely cheaper and they're significantly worse. I feel like it's just such a pointless product in the Florida market anyway, because of our winds.
Sure.
But when you're getting an architectural shingle, what is the shingle consisting of? Like, I feel like people don't even understand, like, what does a shingle actually do? Like, you had just mentioned that the tile is not the water barrier. Like, this is something that people don't understand. The tile is not the water barrier. The underlayment is the water barrier.
Right.
But for shingles, that's not the case, right?
I want to show you this. So here's a close-up of an architectural shingle. Does it show up?
I'm going to blow this up here. There we go.
Okay.
Yes.
This is the headlamp, the part that's covered, right, when it's installed. This is the dragon tooth, and the lower part is the shim. So if you open this piece up, this shows the backside of a shingle. This is the headlamp that's covered. These are the dragon teeth that give the bump and the texture. And then the bottom layer here is the shim that is covered by some of the dragon teeth and then connected to the full shingle with the common bond. That's the only part where the bottom and top layer is fully connected. So that's what they're getting with an architectural shingle. And there's, you know, sometimes almost we'll call it a dimensional shingle or laminated shingle, kind of interchangeable terms.
Yeah. Interesting. This is something that you taught me a long time ago that I thought was interesting. I guess we'll go to this first. The CertainTeeds, are they still the only shingle that has a color warranty?
No. They're not a color. CertainTeed doesn't have a separate color warranty like Ludowici does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say most of our competition, clay or concrete, doesn't have any color warranty. So Ludowici spells it out. We have a color warranty. So with shingle manufacturers, they don't have a color warranty that says it will not fade more than X number of hunter units in a given time period. In my time doing this, I've had two. If this kind of, it's an anecdote, but to answer your question and reinforce how it works, I've only had 2 complaints about color in over 35 years. Both were when I was with CertainTeed in Detroit, and both were with I don't remember the name of the color, but it was our blue shingle at the time. In both cases, once those blue shingles were installed, within 60 or 90 days, they faded a lot. So even though there wasn't a quote unquote color warranty, CertainTeed replaced those roofs because they know that's not supposed to happen, right? So from a color standpoint, I've only had that happen twice, and both times it was in the mid 90s with one particular color.
Yeah. You mentioned to me one time about the copper in the shingles, right? I believe CertainTeed are the only shingles that have copper,
No,
or are there
I think
others?
all the
now that do?
manufacturers do now.
Yes.
So let's say going back, even when I came from Detroit over 20 years ago, GAF and CertainTeed sold shingles that were not algae resistant. And then at that time, you could buy algae resistant shingles for, I don't remember, $1 a bundle or $3 a square, $3 a bundle more. They would have some copper granules mixed in with the regular granules versus the shingles that had no algae warranty. So how the coppers mix into the shingle granules to allow the manufacturer to have an algae warranty. So the way that works, and I'm just remembering some stuff that the technical taught me years ago with CertainTeed. So let's say you have a black and white shingle. Now, CertainTeed doesn't make white. I don't know any company that makes white anymore, but like say silver birch or birchwood, the very light colors, some or off-white. Of course, those are going to show algae stains more. So they might have, and these are not accurate numbers, but kind of remembering, they might have 8, 9, 10% copper granules. A black shingle might have 1 or 2%.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the way it works, those copper, let's say it's 8% for discussion. So 8% of the granules in that light colored shingle will have a crushed stone coated in copper, and then a ceramic coating for the colors put over that. That ceramic coating is porous. So now here's the granule, here's the ridge, here's the eave. It rains, moisture goes through that pore space in the copper and the ceramic coating, touches the copper, chemical reaction happens, cupric ions are formed. Those cupric ions come out the bottom pore space. Copper is an antibacterial, kills algae, right? Lowest form of plant life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that works. And I've been asked by some homeowners, well, how come your algae warranty is not 50 years like the shingle warranty, let's say? If they put that much copper into the shingle, I don't know, it might cost $300 or $400 a square.
Yeah.
So you have to balance the best algae warranty with being competitive price.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so obviously you know this because you're competing against it all the time. Every manufacturer claims to have the best shingle, right? Mm-hmm. CertainTeed, what is the edge that CertainTeed has versus other shingle manufacturers?
There's more than a handful. And these are not necessarily in order of priority, because you know that each potential customer has certain reasons they want to buy a roof or certain things that might be important to them. One would be, as far as I know still today, CertainTeed is the only manufacturer that still publishes the weight of their shingles. And it's been that way over 25 years. So why is that? I don't know. My hypothesis is that our competitors don't want people to really know how much their shingles weigh. So CertainTeed publishes the weight. And then our local team, Greg and I and Will, every year and a half or so, will make new photos so they're current, showing 4 squares stacked so people can see a visual representation. Here's why CertainTeed publishes the weight of their shingles. You can see they're still thicker than our competitors. So we just made new stacked photos last week or the week before. So
nice.
When we show photos, we want it to be current, not something from 20 years ago.
Cool.
So that'd be one. We publish the weight. It's heavier and thicker. And what does that mean? Which means some of that extra weight's filler. It's not going to add to the durability. Some of that extra weight's more asphalt. The more and thicker the asphalt, in a shingle, the longer and slower the degradation process. So there's that. Another thing is how certain these two pieces are laminated together. If you look at this diagram, there's 4 rows of lamination adhesive. We call it quadrant bond. 3 in the dragon tooth, 1, 2, 3. 4th one is the common bond. Our 3 main competitors here in South Florida have 3 rows of lamination adhesive, 2 in the dragon teeth, 1 in the common bond. So if this was the first time we met and you wanted a presentation, I would have CertainTeed shingles with our competitors and take them apart to show you the difference how they're built.
Yeah, so that means that you're less likely to lose shingles and that.
Less likely to come apart, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
Another advantage, if you see how those shingles come apart, not 100% of the time, but probably 9.8 times out of 10, ours delaminate with, it takes a lot higher pressure and pulling to separate them. And contractors try that, and it's very easily way over 90% of the time. So is it all the time? No. But to me, that shows in almost all cases, our 2 pieces are laminated together. Another advantage, maybe not necessarily how they're built, but it might relate to that. Exclusions and limitations in the warranty. You can look at all our competitors. It's all in the fine print. CertainTeed has the fewest exclusions and fewest limitations of our competition. So to me, that reinforces if we have the fewest limitations and exclusions, the manufacturer, CertainTeed, is very confident in how they build their product versus having warranty statements that are A, and then you read the fine print, and they take A or B away in the fine print.
Yeah, makes sense. What do contractors get wrong when they're pitching shingle brands to homeowners? Where can they do better?
One, I think, kind of like with roof tile, all asphalt shingles are not the same. It all doesn't come down to price, right? I'm going to go back to tile just for a second. Sometimes, like you and I know, if you go down A1A from Stewart to Homestead, you pass thousands of houses that are worth $10 million to a couple $100 million, right? And everywhere in between. Probably 90% of those have concrete tile, which is the same tile that's on my house and every 2 or 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath ranch house between Stewart and Homestead. But the homeowner doesn't know that because going back to what you said earlier in the beginning, people think tile's tile. It's not. And once they learn, wow, the mahogany in my house, the marble, the windows, everything in my house is different than that 1,750 square foot ranch house, but I have the same tile. Then because they just don't know, right?
Yeah.
Then it opens their mind to learn them. So same thing with asphalt shingles. It's not comes down to price. Look at, because there's value, right? The lowest price doesn't always give you the best durability and long-term cost effectiveness. So look at how is it built, what's in the warranty, what are the limitations and exclusions in the warranty, things like that. To me, that, and then also as far as options, color options, profile options, CertainTeed has more unique profiles in South Florida than all of our other competitors combined, as far as unique, distinct shapes and sizes and looks.
Yeah, people have to think that maybe the CertainTeed are a few $100s more than a brand with a Pink Panther on it for your house. But if you're going to get an extra 2 years of roof out of it, or you have a tornado buzz by the house and you don't have to replace any shingles when your neighbor does, and that's going to cost them $1,500 to the roofer to replace some shingles.
Sure.
Maybe it's already paying for itself right there. So,
sure. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yep.
Definitely.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the future of roofing because you've been in the roofing industry for a while, so you've seen a lot of roofing. And not to mention, you're really good on educating contractors. So you're always staying on top of like, hey, these are going to be the new codes. You probably already know some of the things in the new book that's coming.
We have to.
So you're always staying on top of what's coming down the pipeline here and what we're going to see. And I guess the question I have for you is, the first question I have for you is, how did you develop this, like, always knowing what the next thing is coming, learning the best products and wanting to represent the best, highest end products? Like, how did this become part of your identity of learning the best, trying to sell the best, teaching people about the best, and kind of because you are like me when it comes to my clients. You're really good about teaching. Here's your pros, here's your cons. Like, this is why you want this over this, and getting behind like the down and dirty, like the reasons, instead of just selling, oh, look, this is a prettier tile than the other person. Like, you're not giving me like base reasons of why I should pick a Ludowici tile. You're telling me actual factual reasons
Sure.
To back the tile. So like, how did you get this, develop this as part of your way of selling, I guess, is education over salesmanship?
I think because that's a great, what you just said is why. Am I a salesman? Yes. Do I, quote unquote, sell? I prefer to look at myself as a helper. I want to educate people and teach people. Because I know when I buy, and this is just, maybe it's just how I am personally, when I go, if I'm talking to you about, I don't know, a TV, and I need a new TV, I don't know anything about that. Or I know this much, and there's this much to know. So I want you to teach me sincerely so I can make my best decision, whether it's the primo or the middle or the budget, right? I want to be educated so I can spend my money so I feel like I'm getting the best value. And when I spend it, I'm happy about it. That's why I do that. I think it might just be how I am personally. And I feel like if we teach contractors, and we can teach GCs, your customers and our customers, right, and homeowners, then they'll make the best decision. And the way I look at it, the more you educate and the more you teach, now this is from a salesman standpoint, the more you're going to win. So to me, it's all about being that. Whether you want to, sometimes you try to teach like a first grade or kindergarten teacher, right? Because some people just don't know anything about it. Why would they? They're some brain surgeon. What do they know about roofing, right?
Yeah.
But they want to learn. And sometimes maybe somebody knows a pretty good amount and they've researched online. And like you and I know, there's great information online that's correct. There's information online that's nowhere close to being correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to work with those people. So now you're teaching at, I don't know, 11th grade level, right? So that's how I look at it. I want to help people, be a helper so they can make their best decisions, spend their money the best way they can.
Yeah, I like that. Because that's how I am. It's very similar. What's the biggest knowledge gap you see in the field today among contractors or homeowners or both? You could pick, but like, what is the biggest knowledge gap, do you think? Like, where are they missing? Where are the dots not connecting?
For contractors?
You could give me one for contractors and give me one for homeowners. Like,
I'll start with contractors.
Yeah.
Whoever the contractor is, like, you know, first I'm going to say I have learned more from roofing contractors than anybody in the industry. Contractors have taught me so much, and so much what contractors have learned has been through trial and error. So they know it's not necessarily in this book, right? There's 25 chapters in this book and 12 paragraphs in each chapter. There's stuff that's not in a book. It can't be, because like you and I know, there's so many unique situations you come up with or you have to deal with on a roof. It's nowhere in the Florida code, nowhere in the Miami-Dade code, nowhere in ventilation code, nowhere in any manufacturer's installation manual. You have to figure it out on your own. So I've learned more from contractors than anybody.
Yeah.
And then, so that's part one, because I have great respect for contractors. Then for myself, in addition to that, I read and learn, because I know if I want to make a good living, I have to know more than my competition. So I have to read, I have to read and learn. So a lot of the young guys I see who want to get into it, I want them to understand, you guys, you need to learn. You need to do that. Talk with some of the guys who've been around in the business. Like you and I know, some guys who've been around, They can give you 100 examples of things that's not in a book or manual or online anywhere, and they can tell you how to do it, how to solve the problem, because you're problem solvers, right?
Yeah.
But, and also there's other guys who've been around the business forever that have been doing the same way over and over, but the wrong way. So for the young guys, connect with some guys who've been around the business a long time who are really good contractors. Ask them for their opinion and their ideas on things. That's step one to me. For the young guys, you have to educate yourself however you're going to end up doing it. So that to me would be the biggest thing for contractors.
Yeah.
And I know you and your team do that like crazy. So for young guys, that's what I said. I see that's a big dilemma.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're frustrated. I'm like, dude, you have to take your time, learn more, then you can teach, right?
Yeah.
Or really young guys, and I say really young, I don't necessarily mean age, but new in the business, maybe they're afraid to offer options, to offer upgrades. And they're thinking too much on price.
Price, yeah.
Well, if you're only competing on price, you're going to lose because there's always somebody cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Always.
Race to the bottom.
Yeah. So give the customer the options. Car analogy again. Does everybody buy the most stripped down version of a car? No. People
The
like
middle one, probably.
Yeah,
It's the middle one, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they want comfort. Maybe they want aesthetics, right? Or sound, radios and stereos. Car manufacturers make more money on the option packages. Maybe it costs them $4,000 or $5,000 for that option package. They maybe sell it for $12,000, right?
Yeah.
And the end user is very happy. They spend $12,000. The manufacturer made more money. The contractor can make more money by selling options, but they can't. They have to get out of the mindset of being afraid to offer that, because we can always come down and say, okay, we can take this away and take this away, and now I can compete on with the lower price guys. But I'm giving you a better system, a better value with what I'm including, or even offer upgrade options to line up, right?
Yeah, it's good. Where do you see the roofing industry heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
The one thing that's great about the roofing industry that I was told when I got into it 35, 36 years ago, 36 now, I guess, 35. It's not like a grocery store where people have to go buy food, if not daily, weekly, because you have to eat. Everybody needs a new roof at some point because it's going to leak. They'll do repairs, and at some point it needs a new roof. The more new construction that happens, the more houses exist that need new roofs. So to me, the roofing industry is going to be continually growing as long as they're building more houses and the population grows. It's a great industry, no matter what end you're in. You as the contractor, the distribution end, which for both of us is critical to how we operate on the manufacturer side or on that. I think it's a great industry, and it's going to continue growing.
Yeah, especially in Florida. Thank you, insurance. Speaking of which, how is the insurance claims environment changing the way that tile and shingle products get specified and sold? Because you see insurance now will tell people, oh, your roof is 15 years old. When you have a shingle roof, you've got to change it. On a tile roof, especially representing a product like Ludowici, do you ever run into people, or have you run into people yet, who come back to you and they say, hey, Mike, I got a insurance company telling me that I have to change my roof because it's 20 years old, but I have Ludowici tiles, I've got flint elastic underlayment,
right?
And you just told me about a church that lasted 90 years. How can I tell this insurance company to go kick rocks because I put on a superior product?
Sure. Great point. I don't know if it's never happened, but my whole career here, it's never come up once with Ludowici from a contractor, a homeowner,
Interesting.
GC, anybody. So I can't say it hasn't happened. I've never heard of it once in my life. I know what you just asked me, I get asked a couple times a month. So I've never heard of it. With asphalt shingles, have I? Yes, right? I'll give you an example. There's a lady in Wellington, so far from inland. She had a CertainTeed Grand Manor on her house, 912 slope. This was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
If my memory's right, her roof was about 24 years old. I know the roof. I looked at it. It looks like it's has another 10, 15, 20 years on it.
Yeah.
So she had the contractor who installed it, plus 2 other contractors, give her their evaluation. They all told her at least 10 more years. And,
Yeah,
24 years old then. So her insurance company, she told me, was going to drop her. So she said they decided they're far in. They were going to decide to go either without insurance or get a new roof. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
That's where she was. Now, I've heard I know with that 15-year rule, my understanding with the back and forth in Tallahassee, trying to get a balance between asphalt shingle manufacturers, right, and warranties and contractors and insurance companies. They're trying to come to a middle ground. So now, my understanding correctly, that if I get that letter in 15 years, you as a licensed contractor can do a report for me. I can give it to my insurance company. If you deem that my roof has 5 more years, they have to allow me to have 5 more years. That doesn't mean they can't raise my premiums.
Yeah.
But they can't drop me until 20 years. So that's one thing that has improved since several years back, where that didn't exist. So that amount of homeowners being forced prematurely to get a roof replacement has changed a lot.
Yeah, we do that. We do those reports for people. And I would say that it probably works like 90%, 95% of the time. But there are still times where we'll do the report and say, hey, there's 3 to 5 years left or whatever on this roof. It's in pretty good shape. Just, seal your FPL conduit with some more bowl and like you're good to go. And sometimes you'll still get insurance companies. I think it probably is more carrier dependent than anything, that will still rebuttal against the report and say, nope, it's 25 years old. It's done or whatever. So, it's just interesting because I wanted to get your perspective if you've ever heard of anyone who's like fighting hey, your roof's 20 years old with tile, you've got to change it. And it's like, I've got a 5th-year system on. Yeah. It's warranted. Like, it's like me alone. So, like,
fortunately, to this day, I haven't heard that with any Ludowici ever.
Maybe they know better. maybe they're smart enough. They know Ludowici.
Yeah. So, anecdotally, can I give a comment also about, we talked about upgrade options with shingles.
Yeah.
CertainTeed has a product called Presidential Shake. This is, like, we talked in the beginning. Workmanship is number 1.
Yeah.
Over everything. Material quality comes next, components, everything else. What's the name of the, I'm having just thought in my head. It's in Miami. It's a yacht club right on the ocean. I'm trying to remember the name of it. 2019, they had presidential shake shingles that were on the roof from, 2018, 1989 installation. So 29 years. No, it was 31, 1988 to 2019, 31 years on the ocean front, a few hundred feet from the beach, right on the beach from the ocean front in the sand. Shingles lasted that long. They needed to replace the roof. We all thought they were going to replace them with presidential shake. Over 30 years right on the beach. Biscayne Bay Yacht Club. And they had a new president. He insisted that concrete tile was better than all asphalt shingles. They replaced with concrete tile. Greg was just telling me this week, we should call those guys in a couple of years because probably they're going to be getting ready to have a new roof. And if they would have went back with presidential shape, probably give another
not.
30 years on it.
Yeah, it's funny. I tell people all the time that a good architectural shingle is just as good as a concrete tile. Like 160 mile per hour wind uplift rating for both of them. And you're going to get 20 years. So with less maintenance, lower costs if you have to do repairs.
Yeah.
I don't know. HOAs, right? 5 tips for homeowners. I want you to give me 5 great tips that you would give to any homeowner before they sign a contract with a roofer.
This is not an order of priority. I would make sure you ask how long, and that proof, how long has the contractor been in business? Second, make sure you get his workman's comp and liability insurance, right? Those are the 2 very basics. 3, ask about the components that they're putting in the system. Don't just accept a quote for a 30 square asphalt roof or, 40 square concrete tile roof. No, I'm not talking about line item pricing, but know what's in the system.
You know how often I see that? I see it all the time where people will show me, hey, can you match this price? And it's a 1-page contract, and it'll just say, and this is a good one. The other day, I was at an older lady's house, and her husband had passed away. She has a 57 square house, and they gave her a price for $96,000 to re-roof that for shingles. 96 grand,
Wow.
57 squares. And they were trying to take advantage of this lady so bad. My price was 35 grand for that house. It was crazy. But she showed me the quote. It was a 1-page quote. It said install shingle re-roof shingle roof system. And it was like handwriting. Yeah. And that's all it said, $96,000. Like, what? Like, what is this company doing? So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So part 3 would be ask about all the components. Ask about number 4 would be the warranty from the manufacturer, including the fine print, whether exclusive limitations, and what is the contractor's workmanship warranty, or if he has options that he can offer through the manufacturer for upgrades. And then I would ask the contractor, what are there any upgrade components that you recommend I talk to you about? Those would be my 5 things.
Yeah, those are all great things. That's something that everyone should be doing. Now, flip the question. What are 5 tips that you would give to contractors on what they should be doing, but they are not doing?
1, come armed. You have to qualify the customer, which means be ready to ask 101 questions. And I'm exaggerating, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to just rattle off question after question, right? You create an atmosphere where, you're trying to learn what's the end objective of that customer, right? Look, we talk different reasons people buy. Maybe customer A, they've been paying for leak repair so long, that's why they're just sick of it, right? It's time to get a whole new roof. Customer B, maybe their insurance company wants them to do it. Customer C, maybe they have lived there 20 years and they're remodeling and they're going to change the paint color, change the shingle color, whole new look, right? Customer D, maybe he or she are selling their house, and to get the quickest sale and show the most value, hey, we have a brand new roof. Those are like 4 examples. So ask a lot of questions. What's causing you to talk to roofing contractors and call me about a roof? Why? What do you want to achieve? Well, I want to fix my leaks. I want to have my house sell quickest with the most value, right? So those 2 answers now allows you as a roofing contractor to veer in one direction or another to help them achieve their objective.
Yeah.
So those are questions you have to ask. Make sure you ask a lot of questions. Don't assume somebody just not wants a new roof because they have too many leaks. There's a lot of different reasons people buy. Just like a car, going back to the analogy, there's a lot of reasons. Maybe my car broke down. I don't have a vehicle that works anymore. I need one. Maybe I want an upgrade for this reason or that, or there's 100 reasons and other reasons in between those, right? So come armed with a lot of questions, and if you're not comfortable with it, practice with your people on your team and let them tell you that's good or no, that sucks. That's pretty bad. Or you sound too stilted.
Yeah.
Be comfortable, right? So a lot of it's practice, right?
Yeah.
So once you're comfortable, then the potential client is going to respond to you better.
Yeah.
So those would be my things I would recommend to contractors. Oh, another thing I'd recommend to contractors, talk to the homeowner or building owner about ventilation. To me, when I came here from Detroit, I was shocked to learn how little ventilation. I'm not talking across the board, but kind of just as a generally speaking, it's not discussed with homeowners. That can be a huge advantage for a contractor with their potential customer, and you can give your customer a much better roofing solution because ventilation is critical to the whole roofing system.
Yeah.
So that's a
And
big
for your
one.
AC.
Exactly.
And for your AC.
Yeah, like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question. You guys, that's a big question. Do you guys and your team get asked from potential customers, how can I reduce my cooling costs?
Actually, not often. They're usually not asking me. It's usually, and this is the way that we do it, is out like we always go on the roof and we always go in the attic. We're not like there are companies out there now, Mike, that just send an EagleView quote to the email. They don't even go on site. But when we're on the job, we're going in the attic. And I'll go in the attic. And I'll come down. I'll be like, man, this attic is so hot. I'll be like, have you ever thought about adding solar vents? And then they'll say, oh no, what does a solar vent do? And then I'll explain the difference between passive and active ventilation too.
Sure.
So usually that's how it starts is I'll come down from the attic and I'll just be like, man, that attic is so hot. And then that's usually when I bring it up to them is like after I'm up there and I'm like, I know from experience now how hot your attic is. Or I'll say, have you been in your attic? Like,
Yeah.
do you have anything of value in there that you don't want to melt? Or is it usually stuff like that?
I mean, that's a great way to start that discussion.
Yeah.
And create awareness and educate your client. And it's a big difference maker. How many contractors nowadays go into attics?
Yeah. Not many. Yeah, not many.
Yeah.
I always go. So
Yeah. So like, the goal is to get that attic temperature as close as you can to the outdoor air temperature. You're never going to come close, but poor intake and poor exhaust, maybe even with black shingles, that attic, you and I know 160, 165 degrees.
yeah.
You have really good intake and exhaust. Maybe you reduce it to 115, 120. Way still more than the 90 degrees outside, but much, much closer than it was.
Yeah.
Now that attic's a lot cooler. Good insulation on top of that, on the attic floor above the ceiling, will also reduce that heat from coming in the house. All that stuff reduce the cooling costs.
Yeah.
And increase the lifespan of the asphalt shingles.
Yeah.
Or tile, the underlayment, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge point. Another thing I would recommend, look at the soffit vents that exist. So many times I've seen jobs where maybe the house has been painted 3, 4, 5 times over the decades. Those soffit vents are mostly painted over. There's hardly any pore space. Show them that and replace all the soffit vents that are plugged up with paint or whatever. Or do your calculations. Maybe you need to cut in. Maybe they have 3 on each side. Maybe you really need 5 on each side. Many guys don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Usually when we're doing our house painting, we'll recommend replacing those soffit vents instead of painting over because that does happen all the time. And people just paint over it again.
Yeah, and
but
I have soffit vents, but they don't know they're plugged up. They're not working. So really, you almost have no soffit.
Yeah,
vents.
exactly. It's not really there. What are some of the bigger myths? You don't have to give me 5, but if you've got a couple of big myths in the roofing industry, you have a couple myths that you would like to bust.
To property owners and homeowners,
Yes.
you more than me because you're on the contract firm, but me countless times. A lot of people think, and I'm generalizing, because in our industry, people work with their hands. They're dumb.
Yeah.
That is so far from the truth. Or they think maybe the guy on the roof, well, he didn't go to college. He's not that smart. I can give you scores and scores, hundreds of guys I know personally who never went to one day of college, who are so smart, given different circumstances, their brain power is probably equal to some surgeon. I'm not exaggerating.
Metal installers.
Yes.
I'll tell you, any of my guys who install metal those guys are smarter than most college educated people because any cut that they make that is wrong is going to cost like hundreds of dollars in material.
Yeah.
So they have to be perfectly precise in their measurements and their ability to cut and their ability to like work around different issues. Because with metal, you're having to fold it up returns and do all these different details. So like metal installers, really, those guys are like,
I agree with you.
geniuses.
So I guess from a property owner end, give respect and ask questions because you can get educated to the nth degree from the contractors you're talking to. Like you said, there's quote unquote formal education in a school building or college building. And there's stuff you learn in skilled trades that you don't necessarily have to go to a physical school building to learn that. It takes just as much sweat, just as much brain power, just as much time to learn that skill. So that's one thing from a myth that I would say, you know, and I came from the landscaping business. People would think I was a dummy because I did physical work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I try to show them I'm not. I can help you learn. So there's that. That would be one thing. One, on the contractor side is don't assume that you know, and we already talked about this several times, don't assume anything. Don't assume you know why that potential customer wants to buy. You're clueless. You don't have any idea.
Yeah.
And because that homeowner lives in a house, don't assume what their income is or how much money they want to spend. There's generalities that I know you can say in most cases, right? But most cases is not in all cases, right? I remember when I still lived in Detroit years ago, there was the biggest asphalt roofing, not asphalt roofing, asphalt road paving company in Michigan at that time. That guy, probably not a billionaire, he was worth hundreds of millions. I remember he sold his company back, I don't know what year it was, 1995, long time ago, for like 400 and some million. He lived in the same ranch house he built with his wife when he got married in the mid 1950s, right? So if you went to him and saw his house, don't assume.
Yeah.
The guy in today's dollars, he'd be a billionaire, right?
Yeah. Warren Buffett, right? Doesn't Warren Buffett live in his original house?
So you can't assume anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And don't assume that they don't want to spend for better quality or better aesthetics or better value.
Mm-hmm.
Look at their car. Does everybody drive in South Florida or anywhere in the country the lowest priced car from any manufacturer? No.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people drive cars that are 1, 2, 6, or 8 or 10 steps above the base model. So that shows you for some things they're willing to spend money. Don't assume.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've had customers in giant mansions that are like, just put on the cheapest tile roof. And then I've had customers in tiny little ranch houses that are 18 squares that want to put on Ludowici, or they're like put on standing seam metal, or, you know,
Exactly.
So it's, yeah, exactly. Don't assume. That's a very
You're
good
right.
point. Yeah.
In that vein, we did with Ludowici. I remember because they're few and far between, but there's a lot of them. We did Ludowici on a 1,100 square foot ranch in Boca, also 12 squares with overhangs. 14 square house in Key Largo, Duck Key. The house was 900 square feet, 14 squares because of a three-sided wraparound porch. Couple 17 square jobs in Miami, a 14 square job in Miami. So these houses are all much smaller than an average house, which is what, 22 squares or so.
Yeah.
So examples of much smaller than, by far smaller than the average house, going with Ludowici.
Yeah.
Don't assume.
Yeah. Think about it this way. Less square footage means that they have more money that they can spend on a better product for that square footage. So yeah, that's good. Okay, Mike, thanks for jumping on the podcast. This was a lot of fun.
Tim, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if anyone who's watching or listening wants to reach out to you, other contractors or homeowners, and they're interested in the products, the beautiful tiles, they have so many tiles. And you can also call me. Mike gave me this amazing book right here. You can see this is bigger than any book except for the Bible, probably. And you can see amazing pictures, all the different colors of tile, beautiful examples of the tile. I'm going to be driving around with this book now. So if you want to see some of these examples, just ask me if you see me. But if you're interested in any of the products and you want to learn more, where can people reach out to you, Mike?
The easiest way, if you go to our website, anusbigiansales.com, ANUSBIGIAN sales.com. Our numbers are there, or my cell phone, 561-523-6885, or what's Greg's? God, 954-464-6392. Like, you know, I don't remember that many phone numbers anymore.
Yeah.
You just look up a name.
Okay, awesome. So if you're interested in learning more about the products, then reach out to Mike and he can help you out and steer you in the right direction. Thank you for watching or listening. We will see you next time.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, that's the blueprint for the day. Another episode in the books. Tim Kanak, Cock and Squad, dropping knowledge like nails in the roof. All right, that's the blueprint for the day. Another episode in the books. Tim Kanak. on trends, leadership and financial chains. Left with the tools to build your own, now go break them reins. Remember, wake early, make daily, stack that equity high. Construction kings and queens, sky's the limit, touch it, don't just fly. Shout out to the hustlers grinding in the dirt and the heat. Financial freedom, call and answer it with concrete feet. Till next time, keep building, keep rising, keep that fire lit. Wake and make, we out peace. Don't forget to hit subscribe, you dig? Aight, that's the blueprint for the day. Another episode in the books.